So there we start Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 2, which is called by Srila Prabhupada, Contents of the Gita Summarized. In other scriptures, they also call the second chapter Sankhya Yoga, the yoga of knowledge. Then we start with a little bit of vocabulary. Ta-da! I don't know if you know all these terms. I'm going to give you, or we can do it together. You see, some vocabulary parts of the Gita that when I was preparing, I was like, wow, these words, I don't know. Yield, number 1, to yield. Number 2, to give up. Number 3, weakness. Number 4, battlefield. Number 5, worship. Number 6, to beg. Number 7, steady. Number 8, Kshatriya. Very important word, you know. That, of course, is not English. It's Sanskrit, yes. Number 9, slay. Number 10, garments. Garments. Oh my God. Do you know, guys, any of you, do you know any of these? To the second chapter, contents of the Gita summarized, Sankhya Yoga. Chapter 2. Arjuna submits to Lord Krishna as his disciple, and Krishna begins his teachings to Arjuna by explaining the fundamental distinction between the temporary material body and the eternal spiritual soul. The Lord, Krishna, explains the process of transmigration, the nature of selfless service to the Supreme, and the characteristics of a self-realized person. And we start with Sanjay. Sanjay speaks. Seeing Arjuna full of compassion, because this was chapter 1. Arjuna was very sad because he had to fight people he loved. So he was depressed. And he said, Krishna, oh, I'm not going to fight. So Sanjay said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudan, Krishna, spoke the following words. Shri Bhagavan Vacha, Shri Krishna, the opulent one, said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. They lead not to higher planets, but to infamy. O son of Prita, do not yield to this degrading impotence. It does not become you. Give up such petty weakness of heart. This is weakness of heart, Arjuna. Arise, O chastiser of the enemy. Come on, you are Arjuna. Don't be weak, you're strong. You're son of Prita. And then Arjuna told Krishna, O killer of enemies, O killer of Madhusudan, how can I counterattack with arrows in battle men like Bhishma and Drona? Bhishma was the patriarch of the Kuru dynasty. Drona was his teacher. How can he throw arrows in them who are worthy of my worship? It would be better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though desiring worldly, mundane gain, they are superiors. If they are killed, everything we enjoy will be tainted with blood. Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. If we kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, we should not care to live. Yet they are now standing before us on the battlefield. Now I am confused about my duty, my work, my service, and have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, and that's very important, that is the condition of the Bhagavad Gita. Remember that Arjuna was the mightiest warrior, but now that was his condition. He lost all composure. And in that condition, I'm asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please, Krishna, instruct me. So you see, Krishna did not try to convince Arjuna of something. What is best for you? No, 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 no. No, no. I know what is best for you. No, 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 no. It was not that. Arjuna surrendered to Krishna and said, please, Krishna, what is best for me? I don't know. Please instruct me. I can find no means to drive away this grief, which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it, even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven. This problem in my mind, I can't solve it, Krishna, please. And then Sanjay said, having spoke thus, Arjuna, chastiser of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight, and felt silent. Imagine the king Dhritarashtra who is talking to Sanjay. Oh, Arjuna is not going to fight. This is very good. All descendant of Bharata. At that time, Krishna, smiling in the midst of both armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Never was there a time. Beautiful. This in English is what we call inversion. Never é uma partícula negativa. Never. They start the sentence with never. Instead of there was never. Ele usou never was there a time. Beautiful, Prabhupada. This is beautiful English. As the embodied soul, the soul passes continuously in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered, not confused by such a change. O son of Kunti, Arjuna, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course, they are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O scion of Bharat, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. O best among men, Arjun, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady, is firm in both, is certainly eligible for liberation. Those who are seers of the truth, of reality, they have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. That soul which pervades, is inside the entire body, you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. Nobody can destroy the soul, according to Krishna. The material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. The body dies. Therefore, fight, O descendant of Bharat. Neither he who thinks the living entity, the slayer, the murderer, the killer, nor he who thinks it slain is in knowledge. For the self slays not, nor is slain. For the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. He, the soul, has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He, the soul, is not slain when the body is slain. So you see, the body, yes, is killed. The soul, no, is imperishable. Oh, Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble. and can be neither burned nor dried. The soul is everlasting, is eternal, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and then eternally the same. It's said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. If, however, you think that the soul or the symptoms of life will always be born and die, you still have no reason to lament, O mighty armed. One who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. Okay. All created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in the entering state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So, what need is there for lamentation? This is interesting because when Krishna says all created beings, he's not talking about we people. He's talking about everything. He's talking about the stars, the galaxies, the planets, all creatures, unmanifest, like the sun. It's not eternal, the sun or the moon. No, they are unmanifest, then they are manifested, and then they in the future they are unmanifest. This is nature. So some look on the soul as amazing. Some describe him, the soul, as amazing. And some hear, listen, of him as amazing. While others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. Oh, descendant of Bharat, he who dwells in the body, the soul, can never be slain. The soul cannot be killed. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living being. Considering your specific duty, your work as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement work, no better work for you than fighting on religious principles. And so there is no need for hesitation. O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets.
This verse is very important too. Because people can say, oh, Krishna said, I'm a Kshatriya. Oh, I want to fight. I want to fight. And Krishna said, oh, hey, hey, hey. Happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come. This word unsought. Sought decides. He's not looking for fight. No. No, no, he's not saying, oh, you are a Kshatriya. Look for fight. No, procura, procura. No, 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 don't look for fight. But you know what? Fight is inevitable. Quem eu digo os boletos. Fighting is inevitable. And there's no opportunity. Yes. And these are the doors of the heavenly planets. Heavenly planets.
If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, if you don't fight, Arjuna, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. Because Arjuna was very famous. as a warrior. Everybody, even his adversaries, respect Arjuna very much. But if he doesn't fight, he loses his reputation. People will always speak of your infamy. And for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. Dishonor is worse than death for a respectable person. Oh my God. And then now I think about the politicians nowadays. Meu Deus. Oh my. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear
Fear.
only. And thus they will consider you insignificant out of fear. Not because they don't think, Arjuna is so compassionate. Arjuna is afraid. Coward. And he's talking about the great generals that esteem, that love, respect Arjuna. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you, Arjuna? Oh, son of Kunti, either you'll be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and all the time. Krishna said, fight, Arjuna. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing, you shall never incur sin. We have to do what we have to do. Our fight, everybody here is a Kshatriya, is a fighter. But why do we fight? Okay. Thus far, I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study, Sankhya Yoga. Now, listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Prita, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage, the prison of works. When you act in that knowledge. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution. And a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, result in good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. It doesn't happen. People are confused. Why? Because of sense enjoyment. The sense look, touch, more, food. And this is it. This is life. The Vedas deal mainly, especially with the subject of the three modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. Oh, that's a good one. All purposes served by a small well, a well of water, you see. All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Well, engraçado, né? I love well because we have this idea. Ah, well, oh, how are you? Oh, well, oh, everything well. But well can be that. If you look at the picture, that's a well where you can get water. Yeah, English. If you say why, I say, look, I have no idea why well is well and no, they're so different, but you have a right to perform your prescribed duty, your service, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities. Never be attached to not doing your duty. Never be attached to not doing your duty. Ah, man, então fica de boa. I don't have to work. I am transcendental. Oh, Krishna said, never be attached to not doing your duty. Work, fight, clean your house, sweep the floor. And so it goes, yes? Perform your duty equipoised. One balanced mind, O Arjuna. Perform your duty equipoised, O Arjuna. Abandoning all attachment, important word, attachment, to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. So, in this verse there, Krishna is telling Arjuna the definition of the word yoga. Yoga is equanimity. That's what Krishna is saying. The equanimity in our attitude, in the mind, in the thoughts, in life. This is yoga. Oh, Dhananjaya, keep all abominable activities far distant by devotional service. And in that consciousness, surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers. E misera. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reactions, even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. Work hard, Arjuna. Strive means exhaustive, hard. Come on. Strive for yoga. Yoga is the art of all work. Words of Krishna. By thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the results of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries by going back to Godhead. Why? Because you are in communion with Krishna. Like one day Jesus was in communion with the Christ and then is free from the cycle of birth and death. You know, the guy is in God now, not when he dies only. No, 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 no. When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. Ah, when your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self realization, then you have attained the divine consciousness. So when Krishna says divine consciousness, Arjuna is like, hey, 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 Krishna, please. Arjuna said, oh Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak? And what is his language? How does he sit? And how does he walk? And then the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, said, O Partha, when a man gives up, abandons all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise, start from mental concoction, and when his mind, thus purified, finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. One, one person who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. What are the threefold miseries? If you remember the story of Siddhartha, the Buddha, you understand the threefold miseries that are part of life. We grow old, we get sick, and we die. At least the body, the body, you know. It's part of life, it's part of the material manifestation. And these are the threefold miseries. If you are alive, you are now getting older, we can get sick and we might die. This is what Siddhartha faced when he abandoned his palace to understand what now we're trying to understand. In the material world, and remember on chapter 2, Krishna has been explaining the difference between the material manifestation and the spirit. Yes. And in the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising nor despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects, as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. Withdraw his senses from sense objects. Like what? What are the senses? Whoa. Sight, touch, smell. And sometimes you go crazy because of that, you know. For example, imagine a guy who suffers from diabetes. And I know, suppose I am this guy. Oh, I have terrible diabetes. And I know it. But oh my God, look at that cake. And I go and I eat the cake. I know the cake and the sugar in it is going to cause me problems. But how can I stop it? That's what Krishna is saying. He's not talking about the cake, of course, but anything. And this ability, the intelligence, the perfect knowledge gives us the ability to know what is interesting and necessary for life and what is harmful, what can cause us any kind of sickness, and then we refrain from it. Yes, like a turtle that they, you know, put the limbs, the arms, legs. They don't have arms and legs. They have four legs. Yeah? So the legs go inside the shell of the turtle, and like that, we can be firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense objects remains. But ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. The senses, smell, touch, hearing, sight, taste, and These are the senses. The senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjun, that they forcibly carry away the mind, even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. You know? They forcibly carry away, they control us. Sometimes we try to control the senses, but at the end, many times, the senses end up controlling us. And then comes fear, sickness, disease, anger, even of a man of discrimination. So he's saying, Arjuna, this is not easy, but possible. That's how it's possible. One who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control, and fixes his consciousness upon me, is known as a man of steady intelligence. Fix the consciousness upon me, Krishna. And remember, if you watch the Bhagavad Gita 101 on my channel, we talk about who is Krishna. Is it a historical person? Is it a consciousness? Or, you know, you name it. But the idea is fix your mind upon me, Krishna, and then you get the steady intelligence. That's the path of devotion, the yoga of devotion, bhakti. While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them. And from such attachment, lust develops. And from lust, anger arises. From anger, complete delusion arises. And from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost. And when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. But a person free from all attachment and aversion and able to control his senses through regulative principles of freedom can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord. Through regulative principles of freedom. This is interesting because we have the idea that freedom is no principle, no regulation. You can do whatever. This is freedom. So, this may even sound a little bit of a paradox. And this is discipline. Regulative principles of freedom. This is discipline. Like what? Like chanting japa, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Ram Hare. By meditating, by practicing yoga, by what is my discipline? What is my discipline to practice English in my everyday life? Not only here once a week for 1 hour reading the Gita. How can I practice my English a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit every day? And with time, wow, you are free because of your discipline. Now you understand. Wow, this is freedom. Discipline is freedom. By the time I practice my viola there, I don't play it very well. I need more discipline. By the time I have more discipline, I can be free to play whatever. I am very limited to Asa Branca, by the way. And then we can obtain the complete mercy, mercy, beautiful word, the mercy of the Lord. And then God helps us if you help yourself, you know? Oh my. For one thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established. Oh my God. This is one of the most, for me, one of the best verses throughout the Bhagavad Gita. One who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there's no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? How can there be any happiness without peace? How can I suppose, oh, I'm so happy if I'm not at peace? There's no possibility. Fake happiness, maybe, but real happiness, as a strong wind whips away a boat on the water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence. Therefore, all mighty armed, one whose senses are restrained from their objects is certainly of steady intelligence. Oh my, this is the mystical shloka, yeah, the mystical verse from chapter 2. What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self control. And the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desire that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. A person who has given up all desires for sense gratification, who lives free from desires, who has given up all sense of proprietorship, and is devoid of false ego, he alone can attain real peace. I would pay attention to this idea of the false ego. If Krishna is using the adjective false, it means there is a real ego. That is the way of the spiritual and godly life, after attaining which a man is not bewildered, is not confused by the time we get to this platform. Then there's no confusion anymore. If one is thus situated, even at the hour of death, one can enter into the kingdom of God. And this was the end of chapter 2, contents of the Gita summarized, also known as Sankhya Yoga. Yeah.